Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. Now, the new unemployment benefit numbers have emerged, and the initial filing for unemployment benefits has reduced back to where we were prior to the pandemic. But this is not any reason to celebrate. In fact, I believe we are still in a crisis mode because the overall unemployment numbers still remain sky high. Welcome to this channel, everyone. On this channel, I give you the truth about what's happening in terms of the country, the economy, as well as our money. My name is Dr. Chhoda. Here's some information about me and why you should watch the Ignition Time channel. So I hope you take the time to click like. I hope you take the time to subscribe and enable notifications because my goal is to bring you the truth wherever the truth might lead us. Now let's jump into why we should not let the unemployment numbers fool us, because although initial claims for unemployment benefits were lower than ever before prior to the pandemic, the fact is that permanent unemployment is on the rise, and the number of unemployment claims and the number of individuals on unemployment is still sky high. Let's start with a one-year-old tweet. A year ago, a one-year-old tweet on your screen from Heidi Sherholz, who's the Director of Policy at the Economic Policy Institute. She wrote, "Brace yourself, on the 26th of March 2020, I have been a labor economist for a very long time and I've never seen anything like this. Here are last week's UI claims." This was at the start of the pandemic. Here's a brand new tweet from Heidi where she says, "1 year ago, when I saw the UI claims data and I said what I said," she said, "in the weeks that followed, things got worse before they got better, and we are not out of the woods yet." Heidi went on to say, last week, the week ending the 25th of March, another 926,000 people applied for unemployment benefits. That included 684,000 people who applied for state unemployment benefits and 242,000 people who applied for the PUA program, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. These are initial claims, everyone. These are people filing claims for the first time. Heidi also wrote, last week was the 53rd straight week. Think about that for a second. A year, the 53rd straight week where total initial claims were at least as high as the second worst week of the Great Recession. In fact, here's a phenomenal chart, and this is from an article that was published by the Economic Policy Institute. And here's a chart. This chart shows continuing claims in all programs over time, and we have the latest data as of the first week of March. And continuing claims, as you can see, as we move from the left side to the right side of this chart, incredible reporting. Continuing claims are nearly 17 million above where they were a year ago, just before the pandemic. During the year 2020, 40 million of our fellow Americans were on unemployment at one point or another. As you can see, the red portion corresponds to pandemic unemployment assistance for temporary workers, part-time workers, gig workers, which, by the way, did not exist prior to the CARES Act. And the dark blue portion represents state unemployment benefits, the regular, the traditional state unemployment benefits. Are things better now compared to where they were at the start of the pandemic? Yes. But compare the right side of the chart with where we were before the chart, and you'll see that we have a long way to go, and this crisis is far from over. Now, what's interesting is that Heidi did applaud the American Rescue Plan and how important it was, providing the $300 a week booster all the way through Labor Day, September 6th of this year. But she said this is important. One big concern is that the bill's unemployment provisions are set to expire on the 6th of September. Even in the best case scenario, they will still be needed. In other words, many individuals in travel, leisure, entertainment, and hospitality have seen their jobs disappear permanently. Permanent unemployment is on the rise. Individuals who've been unemployed for 6 months or more. The labor force participation rate has decreased. I believe there needs to be some element of job retraining. There needs to be a sustained federal effort, and I believe that effort is going to be a part of the Build Back Better agenda. There needs to be a sustained federal effort to retrain individuals who've lost their jobs permanently. But Heidi says by then, meaning by the 6th of September, Congress needs to have put in place long-run UI reforms that include automatic triggers based on economic conditions. So all of this information is summarized along with the chart that I showed you on this article on your screen by the Economic Policy Institute. 1 year later, unemployment insurance claims remain sky high. So definitely check out this article in the description section below. I believe the most important aspect of what Heidi said was the automatic triggers. Automatic triggers have been supported by the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. The US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said that the generosity of unemployment benefits should be tied to local conditions and should be linked to a federal unemployment rate. What this means is, let's say we have a federal unemployment rate of 3%, which, by the way, is where we were prior to the pandemic. And let's say there's a calamity in a state, unfortunately, something happens, and let's say there's a disaster or a hurricane or something, not a nationwide disaster like what we're seeing or what we have seen in 2020, but something state specific. Let's say, unfortunately, something happens in Florida. And let's say the unemployment rate in Florida as a direct result goes to 5%, 6%. Then based on the economics, based on the numbers, the unemployment benefits would kick in and increase, and there would be a booster. This is the principle of automatic stabilizers. Think of it as automatic stimulus, automatic unemployment benefits, and this makes a whole lot more sense instead of all the back and forth, all the politics, all the shenanigans, and all the chess games that you see on your screen right now. There'll be no need for political games and chess games between the president, between the Senate majority leader, the Senate minority leader, the House speaker. This will all be tied to economics and numbers, and that is the way forward. Now, here is the most disturbing trend, everybody. Are you ready for this? And full credit to Heather Long, economics correspondent for the Washington Post. You'll see Heather's tweet on your screen right now. And by the way, you'll get a link to all of these tweets, all of these articles, all the charts in the description section below. So check them out. This is what Heather says. There are now more Americans on long-term unemployment, 6 months or more, than there are on regular state unemployment. In other words, some individuals have permanently lost their jobs. Thanks to the PEUC program, which is fundamentally a federal extension of the state unemployment program, these individuals still have some money coming in. But now that the number of individuals on long-term unemployment on the PEUC program is greater than individuals on the regular state unemployment programs, which typically last 26 weeks. They are significantly shorter in some states like Florida. This tells us that the most vulnerable amongst us have essentially seen our jobs disappear permanently. Individuals in travel, leisure, entertainment, and hospitality have seen their jobs vanish permanently. Here's some reporting on your screen from CNN. Unemployment claims fell to a pandemic low, but there's still a jobs crisis in America. Now, the good news is it's not all doom and gloom. There are reasons to be hopeful. Things are starting to open up, especially with the vaccine distribution. Here's a quote from PNC senior economist Bill Adams. He said, falling cases of the pandemic are especially good news for high contact industries like restaurants, hotels, and other leisure and hospitality businesses. As the pandemic comes under control, these businesses will rapidly regain revenue and rehire workers, and that is indeed starting to happen. So the bottom line is that as more people get vaccinated, as more people start to go out, eat out again and travel, those industries which are now beneficiaries of this increased consumer activity will now start to hire workers quickly, and we'll see a sharp rebound. So that is the good news. Now, as all this is happening, there are some people who are actually freaking out about what's going to happen with the future of our economy, especially with all the massive spending that President Biden is doing, including his new infrastructure plan. Here's the headline of an article on your screen from Fox Business from Larry Kudlow. Now, in case you're wondering why I'm quoting Larry Kudlow, I'll get to that in just a second. Larry Kudlow says President Biden's administration's awful infrastructure bill will damage growth in the next 2 years. And he explains why this multi-trillion-dollar infrastructure bill, which is projected to be at least $3 trillion in his words, does not make any sense. Now, before I show you Larry Kudlow's segment, I want you to know that Larry was a director of the White House National Economic Council under former President Trump. So, therefore, I think it's important to listen to both sides. Although, I have to tell you, sometimes when I listen to Larry, I'm thinking, what? In fact, what I found really interesting was that Larry said this, get this, he said it will hurt the middle class, blue-collar, low-income workers and would make the United States far less competitive. He said it will slaughter energy, fossil fuels, and small businesses. Okay, well, let's be clear. Larry is not a big fan, but I'm a little confused as to how he thinks this will hurt the middle-class, blue-collar workers, low-income workers. And keep in mind, Larry Kudlow and the Republicans passed some massive $2 trillion tax cuts for the ultra-wealthy amongst us. And they weren't really thinking of blue-collar workers at that time. They were thinking of essentially helping large corporations, which do create jobs. But this is a very interesting approach from Uncle Kudlow. Let's roll the tape and let me know whether you agree or whether you're going to listen to this and you're going to go just like me. What? Let's watch.
They're now cooking up yet another package they're going to call infrastructure, but it's going to be a Trojan horse that includes massive tax increases on Americans. They're going hard left.
Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell with our program yesterday slamming this plan for a $3 trillion infrastructure bill. That comes after the nearly $2 trillion stimulus bill just passed by Democrats. Senator Joe Manchin says he can be on board this idea if you raise the corporate taxes to 25%. Larry Kudlow helped cut those taxes. The host of Kudlow and Fox Business 4 Eastern. How you doing, Larry? Day to you. Good morning. What do you think? Have they found a formula to get this done now?
You know, I think Senator McConnell's onto it. Actually, there's two Trojan horses here. In the name of infrastructure, the first Trojan horse is they're going to put the Green New Deal in, which Biden said he wouldn't do in the campaign, but he's come around. And the second Trojan horse is a massive sweeping tax increase that will do great damage to the economy next year and the year after if it is passed. It will end our competitiveness. It will damage blue-collar workers. It will damage lower middle-income workers. You know, it's such tragedy to some extent. Here we are. The vaccines are rolling. We probably have national herd immunity sometime this spring. All the businesses will reopen. That's the greatest stimulus package possible. Infrastructure should be greatly limited. And then Democrats now are not only talking about across-the-board taxes, corporate, capital gains, individuals, small businesses. How's that going to help anybody? They're talking about another massive increase in permanent welfare. None of this makes any sense to me whatsoever.
They might do it. As you always say, the vaccine is the stimulus. I don't know if you caught Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary on Bloomberg. He had some harsh words for Republicans, had some scathing comments for Democrats, calls it the least responsible policy fiscally in 40 years. His quote, "What was kindling is now igniting." It sounds like a warning.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, look, I think Larry Summers is a smart guy, and I agree with most of his conclusions. I might disagree with some analytics, but, let's not do that this morning. I'm just saying it is an extravagant package. He is correct. He's saying there's a 1 in 3 chances of reigniting inflation. I don't think that's so much this year, Bill, but it could be next year because, tax hikes like this will shut off the supply side of the economy, production, business, investment. So you'll have fewer goods. And that's going to, with the Fed pumping money supply in constantly, that would raise inflation if they get this package through. I don't know why Larry is attacking Republicans, because in the House and Senate, every single Republican voted against the stimulus package he's complaining about. But I guess that's just politics.
Least responsible policy.
So that was it, everyone. Interesting comments from Uncle Kudlow, but more importantly, some of the dangerous signs emerging with long-term unemployment, individuals who've been unemployed for 6 months, a year or more, which is the concerning thing in this pandemic. Let's show you that chart on your screen once again from the Economic Policy Institute. And as we go from left to right, you'll see that even though things have improved, we are still a long way off from where we were prior to the pandemic. I know some of our viewers and subscribers say, go back, let's go out there and work. But it's not that simple. The truth is not black and white. The truth hides in the shadows. And that is why you come to the Ignition Time channel. I will tell you the truth wherever the truth might lead us. Thank you so much for watching. Please click the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. I can assure you that Larry Kudlow, if he watches Ignition Time, I'm pretty sure he does. If he watches Ignition Time, he clicks the like button. And I know that some of our biggest viewers and subscribers click the like button, and I encourage you to join our growing community. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.